How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to an all-new episode of the Chason Show. I've got two very special guests today. I got Mark Neal and I got Austin McBride. How's it going, guys?
Hello.
Going
It's
pretty
uh, it's
good.
going good.
So it is episode 19, and we got one more episode to the finale. But I just want to get started with this one. So you guys are obviously into film, just a little bit. Tell me how much goes into the process of like actually making the film, getting it together? Because I kind of know, but like I just put bullshit on the camera and then I edit it in Movie Maker and then I'm done.
Yeah. Is there gonna be video on this podcast, by the way?
Um,
Before I ask that.
so no. I usually when I'll get the separate audio and I'll plug it into video editor and then I'll put it up on YouTube. But then I'll put no. It's just gonna be the audio on.
Okay, I was just worried because my camera looks a bit smudged here. Have you noticed that?
I don't really notice that. My lighting is horrible. Um, so
Not any
you got
better?
nothing to worry about. Now it's a little uh, I don't know what to call it.
It's a little fuzzy.
Yeah,
Fuzzy right
that's the
now.
word for it.
Oh,
Do you guys want to restart or do you guys want to keep on going?
Just keep on going. Freeform
All right.
right now, you know.
this look better. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think I fixed it. So yeah. Where do you want us to start? I guess you want to start with pre-production.
Yeah, go ahead.
That'll be a little more Austin's field if you wanna start out with that.
Yeah. So any good film starts with a good idea. Normally, you got to brainstorm for a good couple hours. A couple of days. You got to think of what you want the film to be about, what you want it to look like, all that jazz. And you gotta really sit down and start writing. About what you want to talk about. And now this sounds a little vulgar. I'm gonna get into a little vulgar right now, but after you've had a good dump, going to the bathroom, taking a dump, you know, scientifically, this is backed by studies. It releases not toxins, chemicals in your body, and you get a little more creative. You get a little more get jazzed up. And I
Really?
noticed this. Yeah. Well, one week I had a bit of a stomach problem, and I was scarfing down laxatives, right? And I noticed that was the best week of writing I've ever done. So normally, while it sounds a little nasty, when I go to the bathroom and drop a load, I'll normally bang out my best ideas. It's kind of weird, but it works. It's crazy.
We're learning
know?
things today, people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just what, Mark?
Your body can only do so many things at the same time. So if it's busy processing food, that's something that can't be kind of going into your head. So when we have writing meetings together, we kind of just like take turns going in and out of the bathroom. It just kind of clears the head. We're close enough at this point. We've been doing it for a couple years. We just know not to look when the person's pulling their pants down.
It sounds vulgar, but it's just it's a process, and it's a functional process. It really we get a lot of stuff done in this manner. I don't know I don't know the exact chemicals. I don't know the exact what happens with the body when you go number two, but it's functional. It works. I don't get it, but it works.
That's actually really interesting. Like I never.
Yeah.
Wow.
You wouldn't
like,
expect it. You wouldn't expect.
My mind is absolutely blown.
You wouldn't expect taking a dump to help you with your most creative processes, but it does it. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense in a way. I mean, I guess I've had some good thoughts, but then they just go away in my head because I'm like, that just sounds stupid. Like a lot of the film ideas that I've had are just like I'm like, you know what, that would be a cool film, and I'm like, well, shit, like I don't know where to even start. I don't know how this is gonna work, and then I just throw it the trash can in my mind. So.
Now,
Honestly,
oh.
sorry to cut you off, Mark, but this is a good little advice here. When you go to always keep a journal on you, and when you go to the bathroom, just pop a squat, sit down, open the journal, And as you go, you're gonna get bursts. You're gonna get some rushes, and you're gonna get some good writing out of that. 100%. Start
I gotta
doing
do
that.
that from now on.
Yeah. It sounds silly. When you hear it kind of out of context, you're like, that sounds stupid, but like 100%, it's real.
Yeah, it sounds silly, but one of the things, you can actually look this up. There is a direct correlation between the history of George Lucas's medical bowel problems and the quality of the Star Wars films.
Wow.
Yeah, back in the early 90s, whenever when the first few were coming out, he was having kind of like a constant diarrhea problem. He was hospitalized for it a good few times, and he's constantly flushing out. And everybody likes the first 3 Star Wars, but come for the prequels, that's by the time he was kind of patched up and everything, and you know how the prequels are.
Hey, at least they're not the sequel series. I mean, I'm just gonna say that.
Yes, I have no comment on Kathleen Kennedy's
Suffice to
bowels.
say, I doubt anyone directing the sequels, I doubt any of them had bad bowel problems at the time of writing. That's all I can say.
Because the one thing I like,
it's kind of a constipation kind of set.
Probably, yeah. I mean, because they're not the storyline is not the best, but visually, I like it visually, but the storyline is just it's just they could have done it way better. And
the CGI artists, they were pooping. I can tell you that.
They really were. My favorite scene was probably the scene in The Force Awakens. This is from the sequel series where Rey picks up Anakin's lightsaber, and as having that flashback, they did that really well, and I felt like it was really good at foreshadowing what's gonna happen in the future, and they didn't have any of that anything like that really, for the exception of Episode 3 in any of the other films. It was something new that they kind of brought up, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, going back to the filming process, obviously brainstorming out of shit all the time, so that makes good films. Well, what else do you guys do in preparation for films?
Well, kind of on-set attitude can make or break an entire film. When you're on set, if you don't like the people around you, if people aren't having fun, it's not going to turn out good. So we're kind of particular about who we do and don't have on our film sets. And one of the main things we make sure everybody kind of knows and thinks about going in, we have a little motto, WWSRD. What would Seth Rogen do? And just anytime we're doing a shot, we're just picturing hey, is this something that Seth Rogen would approve of? Would it make him do his Seth Rogen laugh? And if it doesn't, we don't do it. So there are a lot of films where I've made where it has a sad ending, or Seth Rogen wouldn't do that, and we just don't film it.
So how'd you come up with that saying?
What would Seth Rogen do?
Yeah.
Well,
we are both massive fans of Seth Rogen and his work. Massive. I think, with the exception of a few films and shows that he's been in, I think Seth Rogen is one of the best actors and directors of our generation. And so I think, he's a good thing to emulate, when you're making films. He's got a lot of really good, concrete sort of, ideas that he wants to push through. And like I said, sometimes he won't make the best, but most of the time it's pretty good. 100%. I think Seth Rogen has made some excellent films. And so I think he's a good person to emulate when you're making films.
Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of his work. The Guilt Trip was probably one of my favorite movies of his, which is, I just like that one. I haven't seen a lot of his work, but
Let me put it this way: have you ever seen a Seth Rogen film that you disliked?
No.
That's exactly. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. Me and Austin, didn't we meet at a Seth Rogen premiere?
We met at I think it was the premiere of The Interview, starring Seth Rogen and James Franco, back in 2014.
Yeah, Seth Rogen and James Franco interview. I remember that one.
Yeah, that was the one with Kim Jong Un, right?
That was the Kim
Yeah.
Jong-un, very controversial.
Mhm.
But I saw Mark, we were both there, and I saw Mark, and I'm like, I know that guy. I think I've seen him, in school. And so, I approached him, we, struck up, a little conversation. We realized that we, both love Seth Rogen. And so, that was the interview, and Seth Rogen in general was a real catalyst for our friendship and writing process together.
Yeah, it's not every day that you run into somebody who flew 8 hours to LA with the same mindset as you just for the chance to see Seth Rogen.
Wow.
That was great. That was a good film. That was a good film to meet one of my best friends at,
Now, how do you go about selecting your cast? Is it people you know, or is it people that might associate with? Says, oh, well, this guy might be good for this, or or is it a mix of both?
Well, it depends on the character. There is one kind of surefire way. There's one kind of casting litmus test that always seems to work for me. And hey, I can run it on you real quick. Just anytime I have an actor on an audition, I'll just ask them, do a Seth Rogen laugh for me.
Oh shit!
Listen, if you cannot do a Seth Rogen laugh, or even come close, like get in the ballpark, just generally, it's gonna be an uphill battle.
I'll try.
Okay.
Is it like that?
It's a little more guttural. It's like like that.
Yeah, because I know it's deep. Like
it's deep.
It's deep, and it's from like the diaphragm.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's a good litmus test for actors, and if they can do an impression like a Seth Rogen laugh, or maybe even like a Tim Allen from Home Improvement. Have you ever the noise he makes?
The noise?
Like that. If someone can do that, that's a good litmus test to see if they're going to be, a good fit for the film.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people can't do it, and we'll go to other, qualifications for that. But the first thing we ask is Tim Allen, Seth Rogen. It's simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, because a lot of people, and me included, have a hard time with impressions. I actually had someone on the show a couple weeks ago who could do a really, really good Alex Jones impression. Same thing with Donald Trump impression, and he was very, very good at it. And that things like that comes obviously with a lot of practice. Do you tell people ahead of time, like, oh, hey, they're gonna do this, just practice it, make sure you got it, or do you just like give it to them on the spot?
Personally, I like to spring it on them, because it's sometimes. It depends on the person, but a lot of time I will spring it on them because it's a little better. You get a more organic reaction to the to it.
Yeah, we don't want to hear someone prepping for a week to put on a mockery of Seth Rogen. We want to see on the spot does someone's internal Seth Rogen look like.
I mean, yeah, because I know with a lot of auditions, people like to prepare, but I guess a lot of just it also helps with improv. Just hey, do this, and that shows that they're good at an extent of at improv. I can't speak.
Yeah, and like I said, with like set attitude, there was one film in which we kind of were strong-armed a little bit just due to circumstances. We had to cast somebody who we didn't necessarily want on the set, who usually we would have passed up because we just had to take them given the circumstances. And they were not a fan of our methods at all. They didn't do the Seth Rogen laugh. They didn't even like him really. And you could kind of tell, like we made them sit at a different table during lunch. Nobody really talked to them except during the scenes where they were filming, because everybody else was, enjoying Seth Rogen films, making quotes, making, references, and they just had nothing.
Now, would you say a lot of your work, because I haven't seen any of your work, but when you work on those films, like how long would you say from brainstorming to post-production? How long do you think that takes?
Depends on the film.
It really depends on the length, the kind of quality we're going for, the subject matter in general. of the film. It really matters on what we're shooting for. Sometimes it'll take maybe a week. If it's like a short film, it's kind of goony. It's kind of a goony film. But if it's a longer film, like longer than, let's say, 10 minutes, that may be a couple weeks to a month. Because you got a lot. You got a lot of moving parts. You gotta write the script. You gotta or before that you gotta brainstorm what you want to write about. That might take a little bit because you don't know how much time you want to spend on something. So you gotta really rack your brain. What do you want to talk about? And then you gotta get to the script writing. Sometimes you gotta really hone in what the script is gonna be like, and sometimes you gotta go through different revisions because sometimes the scripts aren't that great. And it's a long process just from start to beginning, and sometimes it could take a month. It's just how it is. That's how filmmaking is sometimes.
Just the revision process sometimes could take upwards of a month, because when you finish a script, the first thing you do pretty much every time is you send it out to other people to look at it. But there's a kind of tricky caveat to that not everyone gets, and it's if they don't like the film, if they don't enjoy what you've given to them, then you have to find somebody else to review it. And you have to just keep on asking more and more people until you find someone who agrees with how you wrote it. And once you have that affirmation of 10 people saying no, 1 people saying yes, then you're good to make it.
Now, do you have a set list of people that you guys go to when sending out a script, or do you just give it to random people?
I have some set people. It's dangerous to have too many set people, but I have some set people. Some of them are just kind of like an automatic, I'm only giving this to you as a formality. I'm going to ignore everything you say about it. But it makes them feel good to be handed the paper. And for the most part, you get the most genuine answers from random people. And most of the time if you're approaching them in like a public place, they'll feel kind of awkward and like not really want to like give you any criticism, so they're just kind of agree with anything you say. It's a real kind of like positivity thing.
I've actually never thought of it that way, just like giving it to random people. Because how long do your scripts usually, like, in more of the average? What is the average length of a script for you guys?
1 page per minute.
1 page per minute. Okay. Now, like, what kind of projects do you guys typically like enjoy working on more? Would you say more like comedy or more like kind of serious film?
We kind of steer clear of comedy.
I thought for sure that you would be more the comedy guy, to be honest.
Well, you may think that, but Seth Rogen, just like a lot of things, is a diverse creature, and he can really give you a lot of different moods. And if we don't have to make a comedy in the style of Seth Rogen, we're not going to. We may go for a Steve Jobs Seth Rogen, Steve Wozniak, So we may want to go in a serious direction with Seth Rogen in mind, and we tend to like doing that because it's a little, outside of, because Seth Rogen does a lot of comedy, and you get kind of, you get a little wacky with him, and if we're going just solely Seth Rogen comedy, it's a bit of a weirder formula than a Seth Rogen serious, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A Seth Rogen fan is someone who's under the impression that he's good at comedy. A Seth Rogen lover is somebody who recognizes the depth he adds to even the comedies that he does.
All right, so for sets, do you guys usually just make your own sets, build them, or do you guys usually go find a location, or a bit of both?
It depends on the script, but being low budget, we tend to want to find locations that fit with our script as opposed to building them ourselves. It's the cheaper method. And the only issue with that is of course legality. Many places don't want you filming on their property, and when that happens, you just kind of have to ignore them. Run and gun guerrilla filmmaking is what we tend to do. We can afford permits, but we kind of just don't get them out of principle at this point. We've made it this far. I don't see any need to pay the government 1 cent more than what they deserve.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair enough. What's like the riskiest location you guys have been to?
The riskiest location I've been to. Um, hmm. I guess that would probably be when we went on an active construction site to do a film. And what was risky about it, I mean, if it was just a normal construction site, they would have thrown us off, but nobody was there. And the reason nobody was there was because there was a hurricane warning. They deemed it unsafe to be on the site at all. So none of the workers were there. So we swooped on in. They're building a bridge.
Wow, that like, and you guys just ignore the hurricane warning.
Yeah, I mean,
It turned out the hurricane wasn't as severe as it could have been. So for the most part, it was just, there's some heavy rain and all that, some slight winds knocking, like barrels around and all that. But for the most part, it was pretty fine. I think whoever made the call did not have a bit of a coward, if you ask me. But, I understand OSHA regulations and all that. So, if you don't want to have construction workers come in, that's fine. But, for the most part, it was fine. It was dangerous because it was a construction site. A lot of hanging things.
yeah, we have a little secret weapon too when it comes to stuff like that. We call it the Rogan Rain Dance. We do it pretty much before every set. We kind of stand in a circle. Everyone, does their best Rogan laugh in, and we kind of, dance on back and forth around. We actually did it around one of the bulldozers on site for this particular occasion because we had it there. We're like, yeah, Seth would like this.
Now, when you guys film, like, what do you guys like tend to take filming seriously, or do you guys like you take it seriously, but both you also kind of mess around if there's an opportunity to mess with someone? Do you do that sometimes?
We tend to keep things pretty serious when we're filming. The only laughter on set is the Seth Rogen laughs. If people get too rambunctious, if they get out of place, we do have to remove them from set, which is awkward because a lot of people carpool. So there have been times where I have to send people, walking home, which could be, upwards of like 6 hours. I think was the furthest we made someone walk.
Oh wow.
Honestly,
Yeah.
we're pretty strict when it comes to certain things, and we don't really like tolerate a lot of like tomfoolery. So we, well, sometimes we're making, kind of funny films. Sometimes we really run a tight ship, and we don't want, people messing around, people doing, just tomfoolery in general. So yeah, we can be a bit strict, but it comes from a place of, of love,
passion and love
passion and love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
you're there to make a film. So if what you're doing isn't servicing the film, then you might have to walk a few hours.
Now, what is your favorite film that you guys have made to this point, or do you guys do like series? Because I thought I heard you guys were doing a series, like a web series. I could be wrong though. I could be thinking about someone else though.
No, we have not done any web series.
That might have
Web
been Hunter
series
though.
are a little below me. I hate to sound pretentious, but web series are a little below me. I like to I like to finish the film and just release it, and then I don't like to have like multiple episodes I have to worry about. I one and done.
Mm-hmm.
So
don't want to overstay your welcome.
Yeah.
Series.
Favorite film that we've made. I don't know. It's hard because there are a good good number of them. I think my favorite probably would be The Man Who Could Smell Roads.
Oh, it's a classic.
Which now this one is a bit of a comedy, and this is a bit of a weird exception to the rule. I really liked this film. I thought it went very well, but it's about a blind man who can drive because he can smell the pavement and the asphalt, and so he can drive around. It's a bit of a harrowing story as well. Can you believe a man who's blind can drive just because he has the schnoz of a god? So I think that was my favorite film, mainly because of the story and the implications of it.
I actually like, that's actually an interesting idea. I don't think anyone, that's a very unique idea. I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds awesome.
I like it. It's it's favorite one. So
Yeah, I'd have to say probably my favorite is Drug Deal Gone Wrong. Very very classic one of ours. It was very emotionally heavy. There are kind of like some twists and turns in it. Like our main hero actually kind of dies in the end. Not to spoil it, but it was kind of heart wrenching. I actually was an actor in that one as well. I had to die myself. So watching yourself die on screen in such a horrific kind of manner, it does something to you sometimes.
Now, how many of your films do you guys like act in?
Uh,
um, honestly, a good bit, primarily because sometimes you get actor, you're a little short on actors,
Yeah.
and you need to step in front of the camera, to make sure the film goes well. So, I've been in a good bit of our films, just as an actor, just because we need it. I fit the role, and I need to act in it.
yeah, I
So
like to avoid acting when possible, but if I need to.
And Mark's a
'cause
little camera shy.
Yeah.
all right, guys. So before we get into another big conversation, we're gonna head to commercial break. We'll be right back after this.
Locks Hair Wax Company is an American company that is veteran-owned and operated. Locks makes all-natural grooming products that are handmade in small batches to ensure top-quality control. These products consist of hair pomade, beard balms, and oils, aftershave balm, even tattoo salve, and they have much more as well. Locks Hair Wax Company is for the sharp savage with a warrior ethos, a never-quit spirit, and a cool hand attitude. Besides grooming products, they also offer a wide variety of apparel and accessories that embrace the American fighting spirit. If you too value what it takes and what it means to love this country, remember its roots, fight for it, work hard, and look sharp doing it, then head over to www.loxpomade.com and join the Locks train. Also, if you use code PRESSBOX10 at the end of your order, then you will save 10% off your entire order. Stay sharp and stay savage.
Hey guys, so quick announcement. One of our sponsors, Anchor, who has been awesome to us throughout the almost year that we've done the podcast. If you haven't heard about it, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. And I know a lot of people have been interested in doing podcasts, so use this. Anchor is a great source. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer, but just by using the app or the website. Anchor distributes your podcast for you. It can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Breaker, and many more, many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And it's everything you need to make a podcast just in one place. Now, please, if you're thinking about doing a podcast and rivaling the best podcast here, the Chason Show, download and use the Anchor app. It's free. Or you can go to anchor.fm to get started. Let's hear from the other sponsors that we have.
Hey guys, so before we get into this episode, I would like to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, NIST, KNIST. They are an awesome slingshot company that I've been partnered with for quite some time, and they have opened up shop on their updated website at knist.online. I'm pretty sure you all know how to spell online, so I'm not going to spell that. So they sell slingshots, steel balls, and band sets. They just came out with a new slingshot called the Maverick. The original slingshot, the original NIST slingshot, is about $6.99 on their website. And they've got the band sets for $4.99. And they've also got a pack of steel balls for $8.99. So please go check them out. They're a great company, and they have some amazing slingshots. So take my word for it and go check them out. So with that being said, guys, go check them out now. The Quit Bitchin' Coalition is a lifestyle brand for those who live their life on their own terms. Mavericks that don't quit. Don't give in. Ever. They are more than a clothing brand. They strive to help people in all facets of life. They believe in the saying, quote, do good while doing good, end quote. The Quit Bitching Coalition seeks to motivate people while providing badass, fashionable apparel. And as they like to say, fashion with an attitude, we are made for mavericks. Guys, please head over to their website. It is www.quitbitchingcoalition.com. Use code PRESSBOX for 10% off your entire order on the website. So go on over and check them out and support their business. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the show.
So now we're back, guys. So let's get right back into it. So we were actually during the commercial break talking about lighting, and I know that's a big thing during filming. How do you guys, work with the lighting and do you have your own like lighting rig, or is it just kind of like, got to do what you got to do?
Yeah,
Well,
so
yeah, Mark,
lighting can be a bit of a money pit. Definitely, if you start going into like the real professional kind of lighting setups, it'll be like a few grand for a singular light, not even including the stands. So honestly, we just kind of go to IKEA. Like it costs more in electricity, but if we can get like 20 or so lamps for a production, you can usually light it pretty much just as good as any Hollywood thing. Like, do you know the difference between diffused light and like direct light, that kind of stuff?
Diffuse is kind of more like this, and direct light is more like that.
Yeah,
For the people listening, you couldn't see what I did, but it doesn't matter to you guys.
Yeah, for those of you listening, diffused light is softer, more spread out light, and people can spend hours setting up different rigs with professional lights trying to adjust that. I mean, you see right in the background here, comes with its own diffusion. You keep the head on if you want it diffused. If you want more harsh light, you take the head of the lamp off. So we've saved hundreds doing that.
Yeah.
Really?
And sometimes if we absolutely need like fancy lighting equipment, we'll rent out some lights. And a lot of the time, if you bang them up a little bit, maybe break a few bulbs, for the most part, they're pretty lenient because they're expecting that, because filmmakers are kind of stupid sometimes. So if you rent out one and you break, you scratch it up, you maybe ding up a bulb or something, they'll be kind of lenient. But we just just in case we get some kind of power hungry clerk who's renting out the lights and receives it, we'll go with the lamps and all that. But if we can and if we need to, we'll rent out some decent lighting equipment, and we can be pretty lenient with how we treat it as well.
Now, when you're filming, in the dark, and that, because lighting is a big issue there. If you're filming in the dark and you're filming with like a Canon, I'm sure you guys have better equipment than I do, but like, how do you deal with the lighting then? Because you can get away with it during like a scene, say inside.
Yeah. I wouldn't know. I'm actually like really, really afraid of the dark. I will not write a script that takes place in the dark at all. Like, not even in a dimly lit room. So
Really?
that's how I get around that problem.
Yeah. Normally, if we have to do anything with like dark light, I'll send Mark home and I'll take over the reins. And it's tricky. It really depends, like on the day, on who I have there. Some of the time, I'll kind of, maybe if I'm going for like kind of like a handheld feel or something. I don't know if that's the right word. I'll
like
actually
almost like
kind of like a found footage kind of thing. I'll use night vision, and it kind of gives it a cooler feel. If it's more of a serious film and it's more static, it's less found footagey. I'll set up the lights in a way that makes it's obviously still nighttime, but you can still see the actors. So it really depends on like, how I'm feeling, how, the actors are feeling, the mood, the general, atmosphere of it. That, just how it is,
Yeah, because I ran into that problem when I filmed the first short film that I did. And it was almost like found footage. It's almost like like Blair Witch Project, but except very, very low budget. Horrible editing,
Are you
Great
talking about?
acting.
You're talking
And
about
then
Hunting the Abandoned, or
no, that was that's the Possessions. The
Possessions? Okay.
yeah. And I honestly am thinking about doing a remastered version because now I know how to do a glitch effect, sort of. Um, but yeah, like lighting was a problem because it was all filmed at night. It was filmed in like a huge field, and I put like a bunch of like seeing if I try to find it have a if I have it on my desk, but it was like a lantern, but it was like very small, but it was like a hunting or camping lantern, which kind of helped, but it was very like dark and you couldn't see a lot, and partly because it was shot on an iPhone, but
Mhm.
you know, how do you like if you do you kind of make if you're shooting a say campfire scene or something where there's not a lot of light and there's a lot of like kind of centered light, would you do you usually like hide like lights around the place, or you kind of like
Well,
put in view, if you will?
well, speaking of a campfire scene, if we're shooting a campfire scene, I'll try and make sure the fire is big enough to give off enough light to light up someone's face, and so I don't have to really use other lights other than the campfire. Now, if that's if that's not an option and I need to still light up, I'll I don't I sometimes get like pieces of orange paper that's thin enough to where I put it over top of the light and it casts kind of a yellow, not a yellow, an orange sort of a tint to the screen. And I'll do that, just to get the make it look like it's the campfire illuminating the person. But most of the time it's orange paper that I found at Office
Really?
Depot. Yeah.
Well, folks at home, you're learning a lot of film stuff today.
Yeah, another trick, if you mentioned you're shooting out in the woods, have you ever heard of shooting day for night?
No.
It's a lot of professionals do that. That's the general film trickery of shooting during the daytime, but making it look like it's nighttime. A very quick way to do that is just simply to put a blue tint on your film, because moonlight is much more blue compared to sunlight. But one of the dead giveaways when you do that is shadows, because obviously if you're shooting at night, you're not going to see shadows the same way you would if you're shooting during the day. So what we tend to do is we just cover the shadows with the tarp. So they can't be seen on the camera because they're under the tarp.
Wow, that's actually a really good idea to do. Now, is there a lot of editing like to kind of cover it up if you can still see it, in the quote unquote editing booth, if you will?
If you can still see the shadows.
Yeah.
No, the tarps usually do a pretty good job.
Yeah. If anything, you just hop in like Adobe or some, you do some trickery, you can get it out pretty well, in like a program or some. Normally I'll send it away to somebody that I know who's really good at that kind of stuff, taking things out of pictures and film and all that, and I'll send it to them. They'll do a pretty good job if there's some lingering shadows.
Mhm.
Now, how long do you guys usually like do editing? Depending, I know it's like depending on say it's a 10-minute film. How long does it usually take, and how many people do you usually have like helping you edit?
Well, I mean, as for most of these answers, it really just depends on the film. You'll have some films which are very kind of just straightforward edits, just adding stuff. But if you get into the more complex edits, either in pacing or in visual effects or stuff like that, it could take a couple months. Usually what we do is, because we're using a kind of broken version of Premiere, we can't actually turn off the computers we're using when editing. So that gets to be a bit of a problem when when it takes longer periods of times or when multiple people have to do it. We're lucky enough in our situation, if me and Austin are editing, we live close enough together that we can, without turning off the computer, run it from one house to another so that we can both edit on it.
Yeah, Mark is about like a 10-minute walk from my house. So I'll, normally I do stuff on the laptop. I'll just unplug it, I'll just pick up the laptop, I'll run to Mark's, or I'll drive, depending on, if I have gas or anything like that. But, most of the time I'll walk to Mark's house and we'll do it in the same house or anything like that,
So is it usually just you two, or is it, do you have like a crew to help you?
It depends.
We usually stay within us, but if we're doing something that's outside of our expertise, we might have to call in someone else. Like if we're doing very serious visual effects, we do have a guy who lives in northern Ohio who does our like really in-depth special effects. We've only had to go out to him once, but you have no idea how difficult it is to get a laptop onto an airplane with it still being turned on.
Yeah, either we're hopping on a plane and trying to, with the laptop still on, or we drive out there, and of course that's you have to worry about the laptop battery dying.
Yeah,
or running out of gas. When I went out there once and I ran out of gas. I was stranded for a few days, and it was terrible because I had to worry about charging the laptop.
Yeah, oh, no. For all the things to land me on the no-fly list, I really didn't think it was going to be trying to make a short film.
So you're on the no-fly list now?
Unfortunately, yes.
Wow.
Which is why I said we've only used our guy in Ohio once. That's the main reason.
Oh damn!
Yeah. Yeah. I drive out to him for other reasons, but sometimes I need to have the laptop on. But for them, yeah, we'll try and avoid it if we can. We'll look up YouTube tutorials. That normally pretty, YouTube is your friend. You want to look at YouTube. Yeah, and sometimes you'll get someone who's really good and they'll elaborate on it pretty well. So YouTube, or we'll use the Northern Ohio guy.
Yeah, that's a long drive. Like I went out there once.
It's a terrible drive to get out there. And he lives in like the sticks, so like it's a really weird environment out there, especially getting out there. And sometimes his house does not have power, so you got to rent out a generator sometimes as well, and that's really annoying, especially if you've been driving for God, like almost
and expensive.
Expensive. But sometimes you got to do this for films.
It's all for the film.
It's all for the films, baby. It's all for the art,
So when you guys like write the script, and again that also is answered by it depends on the length, depends on type of the film. How I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Like, how do you guys go about writing it? Is it do you guys give it to your people while you're writing it, or do you just kind of like write it in one sitting and then go here?
Well,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it depends really. Like I said, if I'm having a bit of some bowel troubles for like a solid week, I'll write it all on my own and get it done in like about a week. But if it's kind of like a slow movement, I'll I'll write some pieces every couple of days, send it to someone, see what they think, take it back. I'll think about including their suggestions and it's a process for that. It really depends on where I am mentally and physically. So just
as a general rule of thumb, I think I know what you're asking. You want to have the entire script done and finalized before you move on to production at all. Now, we're not perfect. We don't always do that. Some professional sets don't even do that. Many of them don't. But we have had situations. We made a little like 5-minute short film, and I thought since it was shorter, we'd be able to get away with, filling in the script as we're doing production. But it got to be an issue when like actors would only have like half of their line, and like they won't even know who they're talking to because it'll just say, mother, I'm. And like, are they home? Are they leaving? Like, they wouldn't know until we came with the rest of the script.
Okay, wow. Like I you because when I write, usually it's kind of like on a whim, and I'm like in the zone, and I'm like, I'll finish, I'll read it, I'll send it to some people, and then they're like, "What's the rest of the story?" And I'll try to explain the best I can, but it's hard to explain the scripts, like if you don't have it done. Because usually, like, I don't plan it out. I just kind of like write it and see what looks good, and then if it sounds good, I'll send it out. Do you guys find that's kind of what you do, or do you like um, kind of like know what you're gonna write, if that makes sense?
Normally I know what I'm gonna write because if I tend to avoid like sending it out kind of like in pieces because I just hate when people are like, hey, what are you gonna do with this? Like, I know what I'm gonna do with it. You don't need to worry about it. So like most of the time I'll try and get it done before I send it out, and then send it out, and then they'll have the full story. I won't have to get stupid questions about it. Just shoot for finish before you send it out. And if you want some sort of question, some creative input, send it out, a little unfinished. But I personally I shoot for finish just because I don't like redundant questions. Like I know exactly what I'm going to do with the film. So yeah.
One piece of advice I will say, if you ever have an AD on your film, assistant director, never send them the script. Never. Because what they do on set is like they keep you on track. Like they basically yell at you until things get on a reasonable pace to finish. But if they don't have the script to know what a reasonable pace is, you can make it through pretty much the entire shoot without being yelled at.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that. That's locked in my brain now.
Assistant directors are rabid dogs sometimes.
They really are.
Yeah, what is your worst
are.
experience with one?
Mark, you have bad experiences with them.
Yeah, I have plenty more. I showed this one film. It wasn't my film, so I'm not going to say the name of it. But we were shooting in a van, and the issue was we were like an hour and a half behind schedule. But the only upside was the assistant director was not in that van. So we came up with this little scheme. Like we finished the last shot that we needed in the van, and we're like, what if we just did it a few more times? So that way we prolonged the period of us, being in the van to seeing the AD. We prolonged it another like 30 minutes.
I'm sure you got yelled at when you got there.
Yeah, well,
Well, the thing is, they're the assistant director. They're not the main director. They, for the most part, they try and wave their willies and try and exert some sort of authority. But for the most part, you're in charge.
Yeah, just usually a good get out of jail free card is go like, oh, union mandated break, and then walk away. And like they don't know if it really is, but like no one wants to question the union.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody questions the union anymore,
Mm-hmm.
Now, like, when do you guys have like a kind of a list of what you want to do for scripts? Do you like kind of like write multiple scripts at a time, meaning like you finish one and then maybe you save another one on the back burner, and then does that make sense?
Yeah,
I think I get what you're putting down.
Do you want to fill this one?
No, Mark, you can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there are some scripts that we have to put on the back burner just due to, budgeting reasons, or mostly it's legal reasons, to be honest. We have been sued a surprising amount of times. Well, we haven't been sued, just cease and desists from Disney mostly, because we keep on writing their intellectual property like into our films, and we've told them many times that we're not going to stop, but until we get lawyers suited outright for that, we just have to put those on the back burner. But if we make a film, if we make a script and we're able to shoot it right away, we like to shoot it right away.
Yeah, in addition to my film degree, I'm starting to actually become a lawyer, so that we don't have to worry about having like a lawyer on retainer. I can just do all the casework. So eventually when I get my law degree, I'll be able to essentially tell Disney to go fuck themselves. So
they're already too big.
Yeah, they're already too big. They need a slap on the balls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, like, when you guys write like a script, do you ever have any just like kind of thrown away, or is it something that like you guys just love right away and you're just gonna do it? If it, like, and you know, because obviously everyone has some bad scripts here and there, and like, this isn't gonna work. Do you guys like ever disagree? This is kind of a two-parter, but do you ever guys disagree on a script?
We disagree a fair bit, but for the most part, we're like we're two pieces of a whole brain, you know, and so for the most part we'll agree. Sometimes we'll disagree, but for the most part we'll agree.
Yeah, we'll usually sort stuff out, and if it's enough of an issue that we find we can't agree at all, usually what we'll do is we'll just like write two different versions behind each other's backs, and just kind of whoever gets out their script first is kind of the one who wins.
Yeah,
fair. That seems fair.
Sometimes there's a lot of animosity in our relationship, but at the end of the day, we're still best friends. We're still massive fans of Seth Rogen. You know, for the most part, we'll come back. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And if half our crew shows up to one set location because they got my script, and the other half shows up to a different location because they got Austin's script, then I guess we have two films.
Yeah, and sometimes that's better because it's like 2 for 1 deal.
Yeah.
So it's really nice.
Now, have you ever made like alternate versions of your films?
No, our films kind of tend to be perfect when we're done with them.
It sounds cocky, I know, but Mark's right. If we make a film and we finish the film, we're gonna say there's no need to make it bigger than it already is. It's like you're gonna get a massive, I can't even think of an example of that, but you're gonna get a massive thing, and you're like, we're not gonna be able to control it if it gets much bigger. So for the most part, when we finish, it'll be perfect,
And do you guys when you like release the film, because I know like releasing the film is like finally it's done, but do you guys ever like do cast like premieres, if you will, and like kind of show watch it all together, or is it kind of just like, here, take it?
Like with the crew we made it with?
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how much we like them, to be honest.
Yeah. It sounds a little, rude, but like if we don't like the cast, we're gonna withhold the film from them until we release it to the general public. If we really like a cast, they're gonna see it first thing, right? Fresh off the presses, we're gonna be like, watch that. But if the cast is unruly, don't agree with our practices, we're gonna make them suffer and wait a little bit. That's just that's just how the industry works sometimes.
Yeah, I mentioned that one actor before who wasn't like our first choice kind of thing. We preferred not to have them on set. They actually, to this day, do not know that the film is finished.
Really?
And that it's out and released. Yeah. It's been like a year and a half now. We ran it through a festival and everything. And
honestly, at this point, them not knowing about it, it's their fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Now, have you guys won any awards for films? Because Mark just mentioned that you guys sent them through festivals. Have you guys won any awards?
Yeah, we've won some awards here and there. Don't have the name of many offhand, but a lot of second place awards. That's awesome. Kind of what I'm known for. Just it's second or third place.
Second, third. Yeah, it's a learning experience, and it's also a reason that I can hate certain festivals because they didn't recognize greatness. So if we get second or third, we're not going to resubmit it to that festival. We're going to go with someone else who will have a fresh and unbiased opinion of our works. So
that is actually part of the reason I think that I ended up on the no-fly list. I used an airport telephone to call a threat into the Sundance Film Festival because they didn't accept our film.
Yeah, sometimes Mark is he's too passionate, but goddamn, I love it.
It's good to have passion, though.
It's good to have passion. Sometimes it goes a little too far, but I won't hold them against it.
We've actually stopped submitting any films to the West Coast because we've actually been banned. Like the current name that we put under most of our films, they've just blindly stopped accepting them. I think it has to do with the Disney lawsuits. I'm not exactly sure. but they've informed us, like, we do not want to receive any more submissions. Please stop contacting this number. They've even claimed, like, this isn't the film festival's phone number. This is my personal phone number. But I kept calling. Eventually, they blocked me.
It's cutthroat, baby.
How many festivals do you guys usually send your work to?
Enough to the point where we're exhausted from sending them out, because it's a lot. You know, you got to fill out a form, you got to fill out, you know, a certificate of authenticity that this is your film. And so normally, after a few, like, you know, after like 10 festivals or something, we get a little tired, we have a little nap, and then when we wake up, we forget that we have to submit more. So normally max 10.
Yeah, like I said, kind of a method of, like, when you're getting people to review your script, just send it out until somebody says they like it. It's kind of the same way at the film festivals. Just send it to a bunch of different ones until somebody accepts it.
Now, have you guys gone to the festivals, or have you guys just kind of stayed home and
never
waited for the results?
I've never been to one. Mark has been to a few, but I've never been to them, just out of principle.
Yeah, I don't know. I stay kind of in the parking lot area. I usually don't go in. I mean, sometimes if they have snacks and stuff, I'll go inside. I will admit that. But kind of, we've vowed to stop taking second place trophies. We kind of just aim for first place now. So if I hear them announcing us for, like, first place, you know, I'll go in. But that hasn't happened yet.
Well, I mean, it's always good to try.
Unappreciated. Simple as that.
I mean, so, like, when you guys make a film, like, obviously it's a lot of work, it's a lot of hard, like, time. Do you guys, like, take breaks in between, like, the films, and you know, or you just kind of like, okay, well, that one's done, let's get right on the next one?
You like to take breaks to recuperate here and there.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm a big break guy, so I'll take a break, you know, for like sometimes for a month. You know, I'll just sleep in bed all day.
Yeah.
So it's just, it depends on how the film went, the cast, you know, the subject matter. If the film is too depressing, I'll be depressed for a month. I won't want to get out of bed. I'll just sleep, and then I'll get over it. Write another film. Bing bang boom. You know.
Especially kind of with our methods of doing things, if you do too many films one after another, like, your bowels will look like a raisin. It's kind of dangerous. You're
gonna get a Star Wars prequel situation there. You're gonna overexert yourself. You're gonna think the bowels haven't got me wrong yet, and then you're gonna fall. Simple as that.
Who would you say, like, motivates you? And I know you're probably gonna say Seth Rogen, but who like motivates you, and like what kind of started, like, really making you guys start making a lot of films? Like, what kind of got you into films?
I think that's a silly question. I think we should move on to the next one.
It's obvious. We're going to say Seth Rogen because we love Seth Rogen.
Called it.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just simple as that. Like, you know, he really motivates us. He just bangs out good films. How can you not be motivated by Seth Rogen?
I don't know, to be honest. Now, like, what kind of do you? All right, I'm gonna rephrase that, because I can't speak. I can't English good today. But what do you guys usually look for in your films? Do you kind of? And I think this builds off of a question I asked earlier. But, like, when you're making a film, like, what kind of subject matter do you like to put in there? Are there common themes in your films, or is it kind of just, like, completely different, like, films and with no, like, continuity in them, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, we do kind of a large range of, like, emotions and themes and stuff. I mean, you can pretty much, and you'll find this with most writers, tie it pretty directly to, like, my relationship status. Like, if I haven't gotten on in a while, you know, I might write some, you know, like, lonely films, kind of like about depression and everything. But if I'm, like, drowning in it, then I'll write more, you know, comedic, you know, lighthearted kind of group films about, like, groups, you know, progressing through life and whatnot together. Slice of life.
For me, when I'm writing a film and all that, it depends on what I'm reading. If I'm reading a philosophical book such as Friedrich Nietzsche, big fan, you know, I'll write a film about existential dread and all that. You know, I'll kind of skirt that. If I'm reading a Slavoj Žižek book, I'll write it about a man with a very bad lisp. Don't ask. It just makes sense. But if I'm reading like a Roald Dahl, I'll be a little bit more cheerful, a little bit more, a little more crazy with it, Roald Dahl's a crazy man, so I mean, when you're reading them, you got to write crazy movies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what is like the building off that? What is the craziest film you guys have made?
Mark, what do you think? I'm numb to everything at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. What would you define crazy as?
Like, I don't know. In your opinion, like, would be like either subject matter, like, just or kind of like characters, or like the storyline, if you will, the plot.
Okay, I mean, I guess, well, I'm not exactly sure. I guess kind of the craziest thing I in particular have done when it comes to making films is I did mention it depends a lot kind of like on my relationship status. I actually rescheduled an entire shoot based around there is this cutie who I wanted on set, and they're like, yeah, I'll be on the set. It's in Pennsylvania, right? Because I found them in Pennsylvania. And we had already scheduled everyone for inner city Baltimore, so of course I told them, yeah, we'll shoot in Pennsylvania. People weren't happy about it. We had to cram in cars. It was about like 6-7 people crammed into a car driving out to Pennsylvania just because I was horny.
Mark, like I said, Mark's passionate about everything he does, and that's one of them. Sometimes I don't like it. Can't fault him for it though. He's got his passions. I'm not gonna grill him for it. So but I'm a bit more concrete with my things. Books keep me going. If I read a book, I'll be on that book until I finish the film. And so I won't get like a change randomly like Mark.
So for
does.
you, a lot of like when you're writing, it's about the book. Or something you're like interested in.
It's inspired by the book, but there's not much content from the book, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get that. It's kind of like
Yeah.
a mood that you're in, and it's like, okay, well, this will sound good.
Yeah.
Now, what is the quickest amount of time that you guys have written a script? Like,
quickest, I'd say 2 days.
Really?
2.5, maybe, pushing that. That's the quickest, I think. We were just bad day for the battles, good day for the writing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really write a script any faster than 2 days, mostly just for health reasons.
Both physical and emotional. Sometimes if you're really pushing yourself to write a script in like a day, you're gonna go bonkers mental, and you're gonna, it's not gonna be good. It's not gonna be good at all. So it really depends on your mental state at the time. But I don't think you can be quicker than 2.5.
Wow, that's fast though. Like
2.5. Well, it wasn't too long of a film, but it was a sizable film.
Because usually for me, it's like it takes me, like when I've written a couple scripts, like I've had one script that I've been working on for like, God, like I was gonna get it done, and then I'm like, oh, I don't like this, and then it's at least taken me 2-3 years.
Yeah, that's how some films are, because you're writing, and you want it to be perfect, and sometimes you gotta be a bit of a Renaissance painter. You gotta get all the little details. You gotta get nice and perfect.
Yeah.
So a few years for a script, that's fine. Don't try and shoot for 2.5 days.
Yeah, no.
Because then you're gonna overexert yourself. You're gonna get a little too stressed. That's just how it is. But the quickest I think is 2.5, but longer is fine. But don't think, oh well, I can push it off, and you got a 10-year-old script. At that point, you're in a different headspace. You're in a different kind of mentality, and you just throw it all in the trash at that point.
Because the first film I did, we filmed all in one night, and we started at like it might have been around 8, and this was up in Garrett County, so it's like clear skies. It gets dark a little sooner than down here, but we probably filmed from like 9 to like 11, and we got everything done in one night. Partly because most of it was like improv, because
Mm-hmm.
I like to have a lot of creative like expression and have different like thing from everybody, and not have a set script, kind of go loosely based off a script, if that makes sense. And we got that done in like a night, which was amazing. And we kind of had to cut it short a little bit because someone had to leave, but it was actually like a really fun film to make. I think Mark, you probably have seen it, right?
Possessions.
Yes.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a film that was shot in one night.
Yeah, it was very like, because the visual quality was very low, and I think it was partly because I sent it through two like editing softwares, which was not the brightest idea.
Which two?
It was Movie Maker, or it was a video editor, and it was iMovie.
Oh,
Low
good.
budget.
For editing, I have for me, I have a cracked version of Premiere, and then I have a program. I forget the name. It has a shark. It's like Movie Shark or something. That's excellent. It's honestly better than Premiere, but I just
Really?
like to use Premiere because sometimes you get a little more candy with it. But for the most part, yeah, it's Adobe and Adobe Premiere and like Film Shark or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it has a shark. I like sharks.
Yeah, I'll give you a tip, because a lot of people, one of the first questions they ask me is about like the editing program they use and what to do if they don't have money to, afford Premiere Pro or After Effects or stuff like that. And to be completely honest, a lot of these free programs are just going to try to scam you. But Microsoft PowerPoint has a video function feature that allows you to put videos together, honestly, more in depth than some of these free programs like iMovie.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think it, but sometimes PowerPoint can be your friend in multiple ways.
Damn it, Microsoft! I've got to start using you now.
Yeah, it's just the problem with filmmaking is you get drained like a stuck pig. So I mean, like you got to shell out some money to shell out a perfection.
Yeah.
Hey, it comes back to what I said at the beginning. WWSRD. What would Seth Rogen do? He probably wouldn't pay for Premiere Pro. He would probably
smokes weed.
Yeah, he'd smoke weed and use Microsoft PowerPoint.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, thank you guys so much for coming on. We got
Of course.
The stupid Zoom thing is counting down, but I would like to thank you guys so much for coming on. It was an awesome experience. Hopefully, this should be out tomorrow, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get it out tonight, because of people usually don't listen to the episode of the show if I release it at like late at night. But everyone, thank you for listening. Make sure to go check out the merch, and yeah, we'll see you at the finale.